Okay. My presentation will be about baking paper as an alternative to non-stick layers in kitchenware. First, some words about Nordic Paper as a company. We are located strategically between Stockholm, Copenhagen, and Oslo, or as we have said, in the heart of Scandinavia. We have had up to a few weeks ago 4 mills, 3 in Sweden, Bäckhammar, Åmotfors, and Säffle, and 1 mill in Norway, in Greaseproof. But a few weeks ago, we also got a new mill in Quebec in Canada. So now we are 5 paper mills, and we supply paper, specialty paper, to more than 80 countries all around the world. And the business areas are divided into 2 business units: craft paper and greaseproof paper. The greaseproof paper business supplies paper for the end use of baking paper and the food wrapping material, and all different types of food contact applications. The craft paper is used for paper bags. It could be used for laminates, it could be used for furniture, it could be used for electrical cables and even matchsticks. So it's fair to say that our paper is part of the daily life for many, many persons all around the world. Nordic Paper produces a natural greaseproof without adding any PFAS. But what actually is the difference between a natural greaseproof paper and a paper containing PFAS? I'll try to explain the difference. Here we have tried to illustrate the production process of natural greaseproof paper. To the top left, you can see a microscope image of the surface of a natural greaseproof paper. You can see that the surface is very dense and hardly no pores in the paper at all. So the grease couldn't penetrate through the really dense surface layer of pure cellulose. And we made this dense surface layer by treating the fibers, the wood fibers, mechanically in a refining process. The other alternative is fluorochemical treated paper, illustrated with the image to the bottom right. And you can see that this type of paper surface contains a lot more open pores and holes in the paper. And theoretically, the grease could penetrate through these pores. But this type of paper is either surface treated or impregnated directly in the pulp with PFAS. So the paper has a grease repellent property. So there are 2 alternatives for a food contact paper: the natural greaseproof and the fluorochemical treated. And I think you can guess what I'm voting for. And we have heard earlier today in several presentations that PFAS are persistent. So PFAS actually is present everywhere in the nature, even if in small amounts. Could be in water and could be in wood. So actually, PFAS can be detected in papers like natural greaseproof, where PFAS isn't added, but it can still be detected. So we have tried to illustrate that, but by making several analysis of total organic fluorine. The 5 upper bars representing natural greaseproof, they are barely visible, but they are still there. And the 5 lower horizontal bars representing test results from paper products where we know that PFAS has been added. And it's really a clear distinction. Even if PFAS is detected in all the materials where it's intentionally added, then we see PFAS levels that are hundreds or even 1,000 times higher than in a natural greaseproof paper. I just wanted to show that, that difference. So natural greaseproof paper, the traditional end use for that paper is butter wrapping paper. But today, the really large end use areas are for other applications like food wrapping and paper for baking cups and baking paper. And this is possible by adding some functional coatings to the natural greaseproof paper. There are different types of baking, home baking, industrial baking. But it's really nice to say that the really professionals, though the Swedish baking team, they are using a natural greaseproof paper as well. So that's a really good quality measurement. But could the baking paper be used for other applications as well? Yes, probably. We can see in this image here that some years back we made some tests with baking paper to be used in frying pans in different way, and it's really convenient. You don't have to wash the pan afterwards, just take away the paper, and it's hygienic. And when you have removed the paper is biodegradable. Further illustrations here. In the top image to the left, we see a sort of a large muffin cup made out of baking paper. And you just place the cup in the frying pan and then place your fish or your meat and then frying as normal. Some years back, the image to the top right, there was a product on the market, simply a baking paper coated with a mix of oils and herbs. You placed the paper directly in the pan and then fried your meat or your fish. And below some other illustrations of the potential use of baking paper in frying pans. Simply egg and bacon. It really works. It doesn't stick to the paper afterwards. And as you can see, the paper is not affected. It will never burn. The temperature in the frying pan is simply too low. So from a practical point of view, it's really working. And as I mentioned before, when the paper is used, it's biodegradable. We have tested that by biodegradation tests according to international standards. And we have an ongoing compost certification process. We are just about to end that. So we're expecting the final certificate very shortly. So to summarize this, natural greaseproof as a baking paper could be used because of the dense fiber structure with a natural barrier where PFAS is not added. So it could actually be used as an alternative to non-stick layers. You don't have to be a super detective to find alternative to non-stick layers. Maybe it's as simple as a baking paper. Thank you very much for listening to me.